And welcome to the MLB show on the Sauter on Sports Podcast Network. I am Mark Sauter. He is Tom, and we are back getting ready for the DS series. Obviously, both the AL and the NL. Looking back on the wild card series that was or that were, however you want to phrase that. And it is so good to be back on a Friday. Thank you, everyone, joining us live. And those of you listening on Spotify, maybe later tonight, maybe tomorrow, getting ready for the games, we appreciate it. Before we get started, I'd like to let everybody know that these shows, all of our shows, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code SPORTS10, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off selected cards. And with our promo code SPORTS10, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. That's right, up to 60% off with our promo code SPORTS10. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Tell them we sent you. I always love saying that. Tell them we sent you by using promo code SPORTS10. Also, Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media, baseball playoffs in full swing, hockey around the corner, basketball around the corner, football in full swing. Everything you need to know is over at totalapexsports.com, whether it's gambling, whether it's fantasy, whether you're not into that degenerate stuff, you just want to know about the games. They have all that too. They have a health website, lifestyle. They talk video games, they talk TV shows, they talk pop culture, they talk about it all. So go to Total Apex Sports and Total Apex Media. All right, let's get into it. Like I said, I'm Mark Sauter. This is Tom Brown. Tom, how we feeling on a Friday, brother? Good to see you.
Feeling pretty fantastic, Mark. Thanks for having me again, as always. Yeah, looking forward to, after a pretty fantastic wild card round, some really good division series matchups.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, big time. Let's just get right into it. We are going to go through all four series and tell the people what we think. Your thoughts are way more prevalent than my own, but I'll still share my thoughts regardless. But let's take a quick look back. The Dodgers, the only team. Don't you just love how narratives get like destroyed within like literally 5 minutes? We're all, or maybe 15 is more accurate. You know, we weren't the only show to suggest that if the Reds pitching could do some damage, that maybe there's an outside chance. Well, Ohtani shut that door very quickly, and the Dodgers, the only team to sweep. The Cubs win yesterday over the Padres, win that series 2-1. The Tigers pull it out after the dramatic last couple months to the season that we talked about the other night. The Tigers pulled it off, and they are now taking on the Mariners after a 2-1 series victory. And then to cap it all off, the Yankees, the Red Sox, spoiling what I thought early actually pitched pretty well. It just kind of all came crashing down at 1 minute. And that kid for the Yankees, man, that was a dominant performance by the rookie. And the Yankees win 4-0 and take on the Toronto Blue Jays. So let's look back, man. The wild card rounds. What were your takeaways? What kind of stuck out to you the most? I'm sure we'll end up touching on all of the series, but what's the one thing you look back on the last couple of days? What's the one thing that really like that you take away from the last 3 days or whatever it was?
Well, yeah, a couple of things. Obviously, just situational baseball, right? We talked about it quite a bit. If you can't catch the ball, you're not going to advance. We saw some really uncharacteristic, sloppy defensive play by the Cleveland Guardians. They're no longer around. We saw the Boston Red Sox boot the ball all over the field, particularly in inning 4 last night in that game 3 win or go home game, kind of ruining what like early had gone toe-to-toe with Schlittler in a really unexpected but terrific pitching matchup there for the first few innings of the game.
Yeah.
Balls and suddenly you spring the leak in October. Well, that's probably about it. Eight innings. What was it? 12 strikeouts, 5 hits. They weren't catching up, right? So one of the most exciting games we've seen so far this year for sure. But yeah, other than that, here's a grand pronouncement. One thing we did both say, like Hunter Green could have a great game, really steal one for the Reds in LA. Yeah, don't count those chickens. Yeah. But the flip side of that is those games both wound up being a lot closer than they had any business being. Even though we saw Roki Sasaki star out of the bullpen for the Dodgers, they did in both games. It was only 2 games, but their bullpen did spring leaks. Now, those are their lower leverage relievers, obviously, and the composition of their division series bullpen will be different than it was for the wild card round. But yeah, if the next batter isn't Brian Hayes and it's somebody like the wave of hitters that the Phillies are going to be bringing out, might be a little bit of a different story, right? So that was all really fun. One thing we did miss, you mentioned it on air the last time on Monday, that this was kind of thrown together a little bit quickly, right, on Monday. When we were previewing what we're looking forward to seeing in the playoffs, one thing I had thought of but didn't get around to saying was, this is the last year that umpires, particularly home plate umpires, right, have free reign to call balls and strikes without the automatic ball strike challenge system, which we're going to get next year. And I thought that, do they ride out on just a wave of ump shows? We didn't see too much of it. We did see a little bit of it Wrigley. I'll be looking forward to seeing how that plays in the next round, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the specific series, because there's a couple I could see getting really ugly. But yeah, looking forward to talking about that. Looking forward to watching the guys whose names we really shouldn't know, but we unfortunately do. Yeah. What about you? What are your takeaways, Mark?
Well, I mean, to piggyback on the whole ump thing, yeah, they can challenge balls and strikes next year. I don't like it. I like whatever. This is a whole rabbit hole that we won't go down. I like the way it is. I like the controversy, the whatever. I like it. That's my opinion. I heard today, and I might be off by a couple of numbers, but I'm not off by much. It was like there was 104 missed calls over the last 3 days, and the majority of them were like subjective, right? The majority of them were like just outside, just inside, or whatever. I thought overall it was actually pretty good. It wasn't that bad. There really wasn't anything that's like that. The only call really was yesterday at the end of the Padres game.
Yeah.
Right? That was really the only one that I'm looking back over the last 3 days and really remembering. Now the bases were loaded. I think, right? Or 2 on.
I was in the middle of broadcasting a volleyball game at the time. I caught the highlights of that game, but
yeah.
I was following along a little bit.
I'm pretty sure that the bases were loaded, or there was 2 on base, but I'm pretty sure loaded.
I think it was present there. Yeah. Well, the point is, these are the plays, right? These are the plays, and the higher the stakes. Also, by the way, with the challenge system, which this is a rabbit hole, we'll get off of it in just a second for everybody who's probably already bored by this. There's no saying that San Diego would have had a challenge left by the bottom of the 9th inning or top of the 9th inning.
Right? Of course.
Because they could easily have blown their challenges much earlier in the game. And the same thing happens. But the conversation about it no longer happens because they blew their challenges.
Well, but in the same vein though, it also, if they got the call right, it's still, there's no saying that they like would have won.
Right.
They
Let's go back. Let's look at an analogy, right? An analogous situation which has nothing to do with the umpire. Jose Ramirez, game 1 against the Tigers, they're about to come back. It looked for all the world like they were going to come back. He reaches on a what turned into I don't know if they called it an infield single or if he reached on an error, but it's 2-base throwing error that got him to third base. Now there's Jose Ramirez on third base with nobody out. Followed up with a strikeout, and then with 1 out, chopper up the middle. He gets hung up between third and home. Now that looks like he lost in the game, right? Because now with 2 outs and nobody on. Who's to say the next guy would have driven him in anyway, right? But it looks the way that it looks. Well, and the conversation is the way the conversation is. Yeah.
And like my point is, and I mean Brady's chiming in, it was 0 outs and no one was on base. I could swear there are people on base, but regardless of it, the bases were loaded or close to it at some point in that situation, whatever it is. The bottom line is you can blame the ump, you can blame the controversial call, you can blame whatever you want. They couldn't score runs. Like they had 1 run and they couldn't really like that's why they were in this situation in the first place. So you can look at it, you can kind of nitpick it, but overall I thought the umping was actually pretty good. As far as my takeaway goes, I think overall, like we talked about this the other day, I thought that like the Tigers on paper should win that series, but I just thought that the momentum that the Guardians were riding and the momentum that the Tigers had lost would be a lot to kind of come back from. But with the Tigers winning, I have no problem saying I think that the right team won. Now, if either of those 2 teams won, I think that probably would have been the right team. But I felt like the right team won. Obviously, with the Dodgers and Reds, like the right team won, right? That's not debatable. I had a whole thing the other day, like defending the Reds and saying anybody who was saying that this was all about the Mets choking and the Reds, didn't deserve to be there, it's like disrespectful. Well, it turns out that the Reds had no business being there. They got their butts kicked. I know that the games ended up being closer, but the Dodgers created enough distance in the first four innings. It. So the right team won. With the Yankees Red Sox, I felt like the Red Sox could certainly win that series. And I thought that there was a good chance that they were going to win that series. However, if you look at like the overall season, or even if you want to go looking at like the betting odds, all that kind of stuff, then the right team won, right? I think like the Yankees at the beginning of the year, they planned on being here. While like the Red Sox doing what they did was a really good story. But they didn't necessarily, no one necessarily thought that okay, this team, like at the beginning of the playoffs, you could have painted a picture for the Red Sox to go to the World Series. That was 100% there. Where at the beginning of the season, I don't think it was. So, like the Yankees, the right team won. Now, when it comes to Padres Cubs, the Cubs won this series fair and square. Their pitching was phenomenal. They got hits at the right time. I'm watching all the talent on that Padres team. And I thought the bullpen, for the most part, pitched really well for the last 3 days. I'm not saying the Cubs aren't the right team. I'm just saying, if you're asking me, who do I want to watch for 5 more days? It's the Padres.
For sure.
Like they are loaded. They're going to be a good team next year too. I know there's some players who are going to test free agency. Maybe they come back, maybe they don't. But like that bullpen for the Padres was just phenomenal. And I'm just watching the star power. Like Tatis yesterday, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And we go back to what I said a few minutes ago, blaming the umps or blaming the calls. Like one of your best hitters went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Like, what do you want the umps to do?
Machado homered in game 2, but he didn't really do much else.
So
series. His career playoff numbers are one of the more surprising things that you can look up on Baseball Reference, because it's
not good.
So doesn't seem like that kind of a guy, but we're deep into a career of him being that kind of a guy.
So that's kind of my takeaway, is that for the Tigers, for the Yankees, and for the Dodgers, I think the right team won. But, and again, I'm not saying the Cubs aren't the right team. I'm just saying, based on sitting on my couch, having fun, watching baseball, it's the Padres that I want to see. Now, that being said, in a few minutes here, we're going to talk about the Cubs.
I was just going to say, that's a perfect segue.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing series. I just want to ask you real quickly, before we do get to that, I want to ask you, and we won't spend long on this, but a quick postmortem on the Boston Red Sox, because looking back, and I'm hearing a lot of different things, and reading a lot of different things on my Twitter, which we all know Twitter is always the go-to place for respected information.
Calm and rational
that's
analysis.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, this Red Sox season is a success. Like, I think that you trade your best player, then your next best player gets hurt. Trevor Story, who has been very hit or miss over the course of his time in Boston, I thought had a really good season overall. Now, there's Red Sox fans that might disagree with me.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. I think this season was absolutely a success for Boston. And I also think that kid just pitched his face off yesterday. Yeah. Like there was a point after they went up 4-0, you could just tell, like, this is not, they're not coming back. And like the 8th inning, I think he had, was it 7 pitches in the 8th inning alone last night? 7 pitches. He finished the game with 108 pitches or something like that.
He came out at 100 pitch, 7 pitch inning in the 8th. That included the Ryan McMahon dive into the dugout to catch a foul ball.
Which obviously helps, and that doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
but he's at the end of his road as far as his pitch count goes. He's not coming back after this, more than likely. And he goes out, throws 7 pitches, and just gets out of there. So what are things about last night that could be on Boston? Perhaps. But that job, like, I don't know who's beating them when that kid's pitching like that.
Yeah.
And really quickly, Tom, sorry. Brady's saying TikTok over Twitter. You got to switch. Yeah, dude, I posted my first TikTok a couple weeks ago, and I haven't posted anything since, so I should probably do that. You're absolutely right. You should talk to my wife, Brady, because she tells me all the time. She has her own business, and she does TikTok for it. And YouTube shorts are where more of her traffic is, but she's doing really well with her content. And she tells me all the time, not as a know-it-all, but as someone who's actually doing it and getting thousands of views. And I just am stubborn, and lazy is really what it is. But you're right, Brady. I can't disagree with you at all. Sorry, man. Quickly, your thoughts before we move on the Red Sox.
The Red Sox are weird. The AL East is weird. There's a lot of teams that are good. Some of them are always going to look like they've underachieved more than they did, because every team in that division, at least a little bit, knows what they're doing, right? the Red Sox sure don't look like they know what they're doing a lot of the time. I don't just mean Trevor Story throwing to first base. I mean wild swings and like
Yeah, that was a bit hit or miss, wasn't it?
wild swings in franchise direction in June. That's always weird, right? But it worked out to have a lot of young players. They have a lot of really, really up and coming young talent. Even guys we didn't see yesterday, right? Roman Anthony, etc. But as far as this year goes, I mean, the Garrett Crochet trade and contract sure seemed like that was a good series of decisions. They were able to extend Aroldis Chapman, who I assume is a Highlander at this point. Yeah, I mean, they'll be back next year. It's weird to talk about my preseason projections for them for this year versus what they wound up being, because it's almost an entirely different team. When you think about like Rafi Devers and all of that drama. Yeah, I don't know, but they'll be back next year. They'll probably be better in some ways and worse in others. The AL East is just kind of a monster, right? So, yeah. We'll have a look.
Well, and we'll see, man. Like I predict that the Tampa Bay Rays, they're always hovering around. Even this season up until the kind of final stretch. And the Blue Jays, I mean, you and I, at some point in time, whether it's today, whether it's on another show, because we're both Blue Jays fans, and we're gonna eventually talk about how this is just the stupidest team that like anyway, we're going to talk about it. To predict that they're going to be in this position again next season is just utter ridiculousness. Not that they can't do it, but to predict that they will. This team, anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But all right, let's move on. The Milwaukee Brewers are taking on the Chicago Cubs. Milwaukee -116 to win the series. Chicago +100. Just for everybody to know that these odds are for these series. This is not for tomorrow's games. This is for these series. Milwaukee -116, Chicago +100. Ray, Peralta, Boyd, Prester, Imanyaga, I butcher these names, and Quintana. I'm sure or Quintana. These names, how to pronounce them better than I do. I should be better at this. Those are the projected starters for the first 3 games. So hit me, man. Milwaukee, Chicago. I had the privilege to see you and talk to you before we started, and you had a Brewers jersey on that ended up being uncomfortable, so you removed it. Is that a lean on the direction that you have for this series, or how do you feel about Milwaukee, Chicago?
It's both a lean in the direction that I think the series will go, and also my preference. Grew up Expos and Jays fan, right? Being from Manitoba. My family's from Northwestern Ontario. Well, I'm in the central time zone, like Chicago, like Milwaukee. Being from Winnipeg, I don't need fancy cities with glass buildings to feel at home. I prefer the confines of Milwaukee, where they have just the right amount of potholes and Lutheran architecture. They also have a Henry Winkler statue. Whatever. Getting off topic, but yeah, the Brewers have been best team in baseball this year, right? In fact, they've been in the playoffs 8 of the last 9 years since the Cubs won the World Series in 2016. The Brewers have consistently been better than they have, but obviously those cities are really close together, right? And
90 miles.
And the Brewers are the little brother, and the Cubs are the big brother. Brewers fans hate Cubs fans. Cubs fans buy Brewers tickets on the secondary market and fill their beautiful stadium in Milwaukee with Cubs fans. This series, I mean, the Brewers have home field. I presume there will only actually be 2 games in Milwaukee, but there will be fights in the stands. There will be a lot of fights at Kelly's Bleachers, one of the bars across the street. There will be, or not quite across the street, across the creek. It's going to be nasty. Though I'll be interested to see what they show on the national broadcast of that, because it does get pretty ugly between these 2 fan bases for all those reasons, right? Which we understand. Being Canadian, you know how hockey fan bases are, right? Think about Senators Leafs games or Montreal Canadiens Senators games, etc. Right? And yeah, on the field, There's no love lost between the teams either, right? Craig Counsell left the Brewers 2 years ago to sign the biggest contract for a major league manager in MLB history. Still has not been surpassed. And you know, yeah, Brewers fans don't love that, right? Craig Counsell was their manager for a long time. Pat Murphy, as bench coach, took over the job. Pat Murphy's been open about it. He said if he didn't get the job as the manager in Milwaukee, he would have just gone with Counsell to Chicago and been his bench coach there, right? I don't know. Instead, he stayed in Milwaukee. He eats a lot of pancakes, and he gets kicked out of a lot of games. You see Aaron Boone, I think, is commonly known as the current champion of getting run from a game by the umpires. Pat Murphy is actually watch more Brewers games. Pat Murphy's a legend, and hopefully we get to see some of that. We were just discussing those ball strike calls and what kind of an effect those can have. Now, I do not want to get back into whether or not that affects the outcome of the game, but it does definitely affect the watchability of the game from a fan's perspective in the stadium. It does from at home. If you guys remember 2015, Shin-Soo Choo, Russell Martin, and Rubin Oder. And then there was a lengthy delay in the game because the fans at Rogers Center, back then a slightly different looking Rogers Center, made their feelings about that known vociferously. It was fantastic. One of the most fun games I think any of us has ever watched, any sport. And
not advised though.
No, no, certainly not. Definitely not.
Throwing beers from the middle deck is not, advised by.
No, but I mean, let's give them something to talk about, right? And so, we'll have what we will have in Milwaukee. We can guarantee this: we will have a majority Brewers fans. We will have a loud, vocal, and very obnoxious and disliked, combative, let's say, minority of Cubs fans, and there will be brats, and there will be bratwurst, and there will be beer, and I mean, let's hope the umpires call clean games, and if not, let's see what happens if Pat Murphy has to come out on the field. This is going to be. You got great storylines. We talked about this last week, right? Big team, small team, rich team, poor team. Brewers do this every year with a really low payroll. You've got an old team, and the Cubs are a pretty old team. The Brewers, it doesn't get talked about, but they're actually the fourth youngest team in the National League, and the other teams being clear rebuilding teams, right? It's going to be terrific baseball. They both play really good baseball. Typically, the Brewers do it with pitching and defense, and they still pitch very well, and they still play defense very well. But this year, it's been offense for them. Frelick, among others, big steps up from unexpected sources of offense. Jackson Chourio continues to step into the role of future superstar. He's only 21 years old. And meanwhile, the Cubs play the best defense of any team in baseball, which covers up for their pitching, which missing Cade Horton, missing all year Justin Steele, almost all year Justin Steele.
Yeah.
Matthew Boyd and Shota Imanaga, their two best remaining starters, actually a pretty poor Septembers for both of them. Now, Matthew Boyd turned it around against the Padres in Game 1, and we will see him in Game 2. And Shota Imanaga, kind of middle of the road playoff performance for him this week. And you never really know what you're going to get from him. He doesn't strike out that many guys, and he gives up a lot of fly balls. So, what's great to have in that circumstance is a center fielder like Pete Crow Armstrong, who robs a lot of doubles in the gap. This is going to be a great series. These are two interesting teams. It's an interesting matchup. Obviously, there's all the off the field stuff, but just on the field, it's going to be great. Now, the Brewers haven't. They've said that Freddie Peralta is going to start Game 1. And then what they've said is there's no rosters have been set for any of these games until tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Some things are more obvious than others, right? But in the case of the Cubs, for example, because the schedule goes like this for the National League, right? There's one game tomorrow, then there's an off day, a scheduled off day, and then they play again on Monday. So you can see the Cubs will have to go with Colin Ray tomorrow because that's what they have left, and then they'll be able to throw Matthew Boyd on Monday, right? And then they have a travel day. So then on Tuesday they can get back to Shota Imanaga because he'll have had enough rest, right? The Mariners don't have to worry about that. So what they've said is, because they had the bye, they'll start Freddie Peralta tomorrow, and then what Pat Murphy said and what was confirmed, I saw it just like very, 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 very shortly before we came on air, was that they're going with an all-hands-on-deck approach from there, and that Jacob Mizorowski, Miz, who was their massive midseason rookie call-up, who kind of captivated everybody, made the All-Star game after only 5 starts, then took a comebacker off his shin, missed a couple of turns in the rotation, and really hasn't been very good since then. Rest in peace, my fantasy baseball team. He will make the divisional series roster. So I would expect that they'll start. Maybe Woodruff. It could be any start for Woodruff. Could be his last start for the Brewers at this point, right? He's been a good soldier for them for a long time. Missed a year with injury, came back on a short-term deal, and then they can mix and match. They've got Priester, they've got Quintana, they've got Mizorowski. They've got a lot of pitching talent. They have more starting pitchers than they have rotation spots, right? But probably the only team, healthy ones too. And they've all, because that's been an ongoing situation, they're all used to coming out of the pen to at least some extent, with the exception of Peralta, right? And so I mean it's gonna be an advantage. The Cubs, who use their bullpen really heavily in the wild card round, are somewhat the beneficiaries of the staggered schedule for the divisional round. There's a scheduled off day between games 1 and game 2, and then a travel day. So 2 of the first 4 games of this series are off days. They get 3 off days out of 5 after clinching against San Diego, which is definitely an advantage to them. It's also something we'll talk about with the Dodgers, but I mean that certainly helps. The Dodgers earned themselves an extra day off by winning in 2, but the calculus for the rest is different in the National League than it is in the American League.
Yeah, well, first of all, you talk about fantasy, bro. I lost in the second round of the fantasy playoffs, and I congratulated the guy who beat me, sent him a message, said, "Hey, bro, good series, battled it out, congratulations." And he said, "I haven't looked at my roster in like 2 months." And I said, "Wow, that feels great. I just lost to a guy who literally could care less and didn't even update his roster." Embarrassing for me, to say the least. I mean, listen, to me, dude, the Hockey Writers League, man, they did a great job. They did great. We had our draft for the Hockey League last night. So much fantasy going on in my life, dude, sports wise, not in any other fashion. Also Brady, going back to the beginning of what you were saying about this series, it is sad that any fan would even consider fighting another fan over just a game. I'm a big fan, but would never even consider fighting someone else over just a game. Now, while you are taking the high road, Brady, you are not old enough to drink. And so you feel that way now, get a couple big pops in you. Maybe you feel differently. I don't know. I don't drink anymore because I would pull someone's jersey over their head. So I don't drink anymore. So, you hit me back in 10 years and we'll see where you're at. All right. About this series, I don't have much to add. I think you did a great job. the one thing about, and I know baseball is super like numbers oriented and there's a million different, and that's kind of entering every sport now, right? Hockey has the high danger chances and all these kind of off the map statistics. And that all started with baseball. The thing I like about baseball is if you look at the batting average as a team and the ERA as a team, right? Not individual, just overall. 162 games is a massive, like that's not even a sample size. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot, right? And so by the time you get to this point, you are who you are. There's no randomness. Now, obviously, that's generally speaking, there's always randomness. That's why we play the games. Um, but it's such a large, and I'll just say sample size, even though it's not really a sample at this point, that you are who you are. And the Brewers, third best batting average in the MLB, second best ERA in the MLB, where the Cubs, 13th best batting average, ninth best ERA. Now, at this point, we could be talking about, 0.5, difference, or like it's not always huge. But I just think when you have a team who has just consistently been great, to be third and second in two of the more important stats of our sport, regardless of all these other off the map statistics that we all look at now when it comes to baseball. There's just a steadiness there, especially, and don't get me wrong, man, like the Brewers have good players, clearly, right? It's not like this isn't a bunch of nobodies. But when you look at a team like the Dodgers, you don't even need to look at these statistics because you can just rattle off names, right? You don't need to look at the average and the WAR and the whatever other stats you want
I
to
will
look
give
at.
you this. I will give you this. I will give you this. If Teoscar Hernandez was a Brewers, he would have been the ninth best qualified hitter on the Brewers this year. Ninth best.
Yeah. No, and
So the names are often because of things you've done before. Clayton Kershaw, unlikely to pitch. The name is often because of what you've done before, right? Teoscar Hernandez was phenomenal for them last year.
he's been good so far this playoffs too.
So far this playoffs, but I mean, the reason that the Brewers have none of them, no Brewers have been good or bad thus far in the playoffs because they haven't had to start yet because they were that much better.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
But Tom, that's my point though. Like that's my
Yeah.
point is that with the Dodgers, the names, right? Obviously Shohei, Betts, Freeman, Teoscar, all these different names. With the Brewers, yes, there are names that you recognize, but just as a team, they're just dominant. Like you don't need to rattle off all this star power. It's just together, they're just the best team in baseball. You know what I mean?
They have been, yeah, and we'll see. They haven't had much playoff success. The last time they threatened to make the World Series was 2018. That's the furthest they got to the NLCS. It's been some playoff heartbreak since then, but that's when it was built around dominant starting pitching, dominant back into the bullpen, and not a lot of offense. Very different from this year's team. You mentioned batting average, which is really unfashionable now in baseball analysis to talk about batting average. But look at the two teams that won the AL and the NL this year in the regular season, right? They also happen to be the teams that had the highest batting average. So, we'll see how it plays out, right? Round ball, round object. We know. And, how will nerves affect somebody who we don't know? We'll never. That's why they play the games. But, I'm expecting Brewers in 4. I think they're really well lined up. They've been mixing and matching. They know what they're doing. Defense at the right positions, and some guys who they've made a lot of big plays all year long.
Yeah, and I am
And
curious.
it really, and in fairness, an injury the pitching injuries in Chicago are that's nothing to sneeze at, right? Kate Horton's their best pitcher by a long shot. Justin Steele was projected to be right, so and those guys are just not around right now. So
Yeah,
they do have
they
do have an obvious advantage in home run power, right? But yeah, I think the Brewers just a stronger team, as you said, over 162, and they've got some health luck too, right? And they're coming into this pretty hole. Wilson Contreras' finger seems to be back to normal. Ish, not to look at, but in terms of how he can swing the bat, back to normal. And yeah,
but I mean
to
piggyback, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll move on. But to piggyback off of what you're saying with regards to the Cubs pitching staff, yes, the injuries. Also, they're like that bullpen has to be one of the oldest bullpens in baseball, right? Like I don't have that in front of me. I don't have it, but I know it to be true that they're up there. And what you said, man, I know they have the off days. I get it, but that whole bullpen was used pretty heavily over the last few days. So, that's going to be something very curious to keep an eye out on as we move forward. Before I move on, I forgot to say this to you. We were talking about takeaways from the wild card, and I forgot to bring this up. One thing about playoff baseball, and listen, if you watch this show, if you watch my channel, you've seen me over the last however long. This network's been up for a couple months, but I've been on Twitter and with Total Apex for a couple of years now. If you see me, you know I love sports. I love all sports. I watch all sports. Why? Like baseball is probably, if not my favorite playoffs, it's up there. Like it's great. It's 1 month. Every pitch matters. Every play matters. Every call matters. They're all like great for different reasons, but hockey and baseball are the two that I just flip flop between which one's the best. It's amazing. The one thing about playoff baseball, and you and I, as Jays fans, have talked about this frequently. I hate the micromanaging of pitchers in the playoffs. It drives me insane. I can't stand it. Let your guy go. Let your guy throw it. I don't care what your stat book says. I don't care what the nerd upstairs thinks. It drives me crazy. You and I can go back as Blue Jays fans to the last 2 times that the Jays have made it to the playoffs in a wild card round, and micromanaging the starting pitcher cost us both series, both of them. This wild card round, for the most part, everyone went 6+. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
or at least 5+. At least, I love the pitching matchups, and I know there was a couple games with openers and like the Cubs did it and whatever. But generally speaking, a lot of guys went 5 or 6+, and that to me, that was really fun, just to watch one guy go up there, give it his best, and then come out. I just thought that was great. If homie for the Yankees played for the Jays 3 years ago, they would have pulled him after the 4th inning, and I would have just torn my clothes off in disgust, like Bible times, just rolling on the ground in anger. And that's not even a joke. That's the truth. That's what would have happened. Yeah, love to see that, and we'll see how that progresses moving forward. All right, moving on to the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. -124 to win the series are the Dodgers. +106 to win the series are the Phillies. I'm not surprised by these numbers. necessarily. I do feel like the vibes for Philly are high, and I think that yes, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. I understand it from that perspective. To me, I picked Philly to go to the World Series. I I prefer not obviously there are pitchers starting with Shohei. We'll see, when he pitches in this series. But I like the pitching staff for the Phillies. I think that they might have the upper hand there. I think as far as like the lineup goes, like I said, I know you have the obvious star power on both sides. You can give the advantage to the Phillies. You can give the advantage to the Dodgers. And I think you'd be right. I think we could bounce back and forth on that one. As far as the pitching staff goes, I was mentioning ERA before. Phillies were eighth in team ERA. The Dodgers were 17th. Now that was like 0.20 of a difference. It's not like it was insane. I let's just look this up. I know what you said before about batting average or whatever. I happen to like it. The Phillies second in the MLB in ERA. The Dodgers were sixth, and that literally the difference there is 0.05. It's not a lot. Curious what you think about this series, man. I can't wait for it. This is as a Jays fan, obviously I'm excited about. And I mean, listen, man, Jays Yankees, that has a lot of cachet. This is the first time that those two teams, the Jays and the Yankees, have ever actually played in a postseason before, which on the one hand is crazy, but also before 2015, the Jays hadn't made it to the playoffs since like 93, 94. So, or 93.
Well, and being in the same division all the time too, right? And for a lot of those years, there was no such thing as a wild card.
100,
and for a lot of those years, there's only one. So, I mean, yeah, the odds are, and we missed the playoffs by
100.
I mean, the Toronto Blue Jays missed the playoffs a lot of those years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah.
100%. Just quickly here.
Can you put those odds back up? I'm just curious about that again.
Yeah, they're there. Yeah, they're there. Just real quickly, just to finish teeing this up. Sanchez, Ohtani, tomorrow. Suarez, Snell on Monday, and Luzardo and Yamamoto on Wednesday. All of those matchups are fun, and you can pick apart who is better and who's favored or whatever, but all those are fun matchups. What do you got for me, brother? Dodgers still.
Interesting that this isn't. So I'm just looking at the Fangraphs the Fangraphs World Series odds right now. Right, they've got the Dodgers as prohibitive favorites at 23% chance to win the World Series. Phillies are only fourth on their list at 13.7. Now, there's a lot of stuff goes in there. Obviously, I don't know their secret sauce, but no Zach Wheeler is a big deal. That's it. I mean,
huge.
Look at how good the rest of the Phillies pitching is. You just went through it. Sanchez, Suarez. It's weird, right? Because like we just talked about it, and we mentioned it during the preview of the Cubs Brewers series. This is the series with the most stars. This is also the series where there's almost the least to talk about because it has all the stars, right? Look at the names on the Phillies. JT Realmuto, yeah, he's aging, but he's still JT Realmuto. Bryce Harper is still very much Bryce Harper. Yes. Trey Turner is still very much Trey Turner. Kyle Schwarber is the most Kyle Schwarber that Kyle Schwarber has ever been. Right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the guys who fill in the spots, right? Bryson Stott's a good player. Alec Bohm is fine. You know, there's not, and in the lineup there's enough depth. There's enough stuff to kind of move things around.
Yo, dude, your neighborhood's like dangerous tonight, eh?
This is
just 911 all
Friday
over
in Winnipeg, my friend. It's Friday in Winnipeg. Yeah, it's just, and then the pitching is great, right? And we'll see how the bullpen holds up, but yeah, it's a good bullpen too. The Phillies have been my pick to win the World Series all year. I just think that they have too many guys, and I know, along with batting average, clutch is no longer considered something that we care about. But I still think that there are guys who are clutch, and I think that a bunch of them play on the Phillies. Not to say that that's not the case about the Dodgers. I mean, they did recently win a World Series with a lot of the same guys. Just saying that, yeah, it's the Phillies for me. I expect and hope for a lengthy series because I think it'll be fun to watch. And yeah, but yeah, truly, with all of the star power on both sides, um, there's really not much to say. This is why they play the games, right? This is why some teams, some teams in the modern way of building teams just try to build their team good enough to get into the wild card, give yourself a chance, and then the playoffs are a crapshoot. We know that the playoffs are a crapshoot. We're just saying how pleasantly surprising it was that for the most part, the wild card round went the way that you would kind of expect it to. And by that we mean about 50-50. But that's better than 2023, for example, right? When how did we wind up with a World Series of the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks? I looked it up. They did bother playing it. The Rangers won. Nobody cares, right? There's too much randomness takes away from it. I think for fans of the other 28 teams, right? This will be really fun. It's a lot of the biggest stars. There's, I don't know how many MVPs between them. Shohei Ohtani pitching in Game 1. He's pretty good. We'll see what happens. Last time we saw him, he pitched five perfect innings, right? No big deal. So,
yeah, not bad. I'm curious to see, in, on the Dodgers side of things, I'm curious to see Will Smith. We didn't see him. I'm curious to see.
He's out.
I feel.
Yeah.
What's that?
He's out.
Oh, he's not playing.
No, he's hurt.
Okay.
It'll be Ben Rortvedt for them. Ben Rortvedt, who you most recently had a gander at hitting a very long home run in Game 2. A very long home run in Game 2 against the Reds.
Yeah, because I heard his name being thrown around today by people who are not me about him potentially playing. I think if he was able to, that would be a huge thing. What I'm curious about, Mookie Betts did not have a Mookie Betts type season. Still fine. I know that because he was on my fantasy team. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mookie. However, playoffs come 6 for 9, right? Yep. Not bad. 3 RBI, just 1 strikeout over the course. I know it was just 2 games.
But it was only 2 games because, in large part, because of what Mookie Betts did. He started the season, he had just lost 20 pounds because of some viral infection that he had, and then took the first 100 or so games of the year to work himself into shape.
Yeah,
just finished the season as the highest rated defensive shortstop in the league. Not bad for a right fielder in his 30s. And now that we get to the playoffs, here he is doing Mookie Betts stuff on both sides of the ball again.
And I think this is where it's fun for me. I'm going to talk on a personal level, all right? We can talk whatever. We try to be objective here. What's fun for me about this series and watching it on a personal level is the Dodgers were my grandmother's favorite team. Like, God rest her soul. She was a Dodgers fan, lived in California for a long, long time. Originally from Newfoundland, funny enough. I won't go into that whole story. My grandmother, when she was alive, whenever I would go visit her, we would watch Dodgers games. She had a book where she would keep stats handwritten of every single Dodgers game. whether it was listening on the radio, watching on TV. She was obsessed. And when she passed away, I have it somewhere. It's one of the coolest keepsakes that I have.
That's
It's just,
fantastic.
dude, like we're talking from the 70s all the way through. It's epic. It's one of the coolest things that I have in my possession. I
Hmm.
love it. So I cheer for the Dodgers. I love the Dodgers. I know a lot of people don't like super teams, quote unquote, or whatever. I feel differently about that in a sport like baseball than, say, basketball. I think in basketball, it's cheap. I think in baseball's still like the hardest sport ever. So it's a little bit different. But once again, that's a different conversation. So for the Dodgers, that's my heart. That's my family. I love the Dodgers. My dad tells stories of having a private box at Dodger Stadium growing up. He's from there, and him and my grandma would go to these games, and so I have a soft spot in my heart for the Dodgers. Phillies, everyone knows if you watch my football show, whatever. I'm a huge Eagles fan.
Do
I've
do the
had
dance. Do the
what?
dance. Do the dance.
What? Just the caw? Because I'll
Yeah. Do
caw.
it. Yeah.
I'll caw all day. Uh, so I'm a huge Eagles fan, but also I've had the privilege of going to Philly many times, mostly for work, but also on just a personal level, to be with people and whatever. Uh, Philly's like one of my favorite cities. I love that place. I love going there. I have lots of friends there, and I'm an Eagles fan. So immediately, like the Phillies, I'm all about it. That's true for every sport except for basketball. The Sixers, as a Raptors fan, I could care less. But for every other sport, I have a soft spot in my heart for the Phillies. So this series is just fun for me if we're talking just personally. I love watching these two series. Whoever wins, I'm happy about it. And I hope that this goes 5 games because it's just, or if it goes 4, then it goes right down to the last couple innings, and it's just as close of a 4 games as you could possibly get. I'm super excited for it. I'm with you. I think the Phillies pull this off. I just think they're so close every year, and I think that there's something about this team, and I know they haven't gotten over the hump, but they just have these moments in the postseason, and they just build up every year. And I do think that this is their time. I predicted them to win the World Series, and I have the Phillies as well. All right. Moving on. Thank you, everybody, for listening to my little family soliloquy there, and I appreciate it. Moving on to the AL, the Detroit Tigers. Funny enough, my grandfather, my only grandparent alive, he is 90 years old, or 93, 94. Diehard Detroit sports fan. So I'm here rooting for his Tigers too, until they play my Blue Jays, of course. Detroit plus 146 to win this series. Seattle, who has home field here, they're minus 172.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. I know that aside from Scooble, Seattle has the better pitching staff. I don't think that's much of a debate. I know that the Tigers have a couple guys here who can hit, but I think from top to bottom, the Mariners have the
Yeah.
better hitting staff. And the Mariners are also like really good defensively. I think like the Mariners, like they really do have the whole package. Um, However, I am still a little bit surprised that the odds are what they are. I'm not surprised that the Mariners are favored, but I am surprised that they are as heavy a favorite as they are. Tell me your thoughts, Seattle, Detroit. I have a couple things to tag on there after, but tell me your thoughts. Seattle minus 172, Detroit plus 146.
Fangraphs odds has the Mariners at 17.6% chance to win the World Series, second highest after only the Dodgers. They have the
Makes
Tigers
sense.
down. They have the Tigers down at 5.9% chance to win the World Series, the worst of the remaining teams. I think maybe, and with all due respect to them, the main reason for that is just the situation that leads to Keeter Montero starting game one of the ALDS for you. You know, they don't have any other pitching left. Tarek Skubal won't be ready to pitch tomorrow because he just pitched the other day. He can't pitch until game two. It means there will not be a game six, so you're only seeing Tarek Skubal once this series, right? Meanwhile, the Mariners can go with, I think, most likely Luis Castillo in game one. There's a lot of, this hasn't been confirmed, or it hadn't been when we went on air, and we won't know until tomorrow whether Brian Wu is on the roster or not. He threw a bullpen, I guess, yesterday. Their scrimmage, they're, you know, like the Jays did them too. He threw a simulated game or whatever yesterday. Whether he's on the roster or not for the end of the series, but I mean, look at the pitching that they do have. They have Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and then possibly their all-star, their best pitcher, Brian Wu, coming back for a late series start, right? That's a really good playoff rotation that's rested and ready, with the caveat that we don't know who's going to be a part of it. We can go even further. I mean, their bullpen at the end of it, they have Andres Munoz. He's set up by Edward Bazardo. He's set up by, Brash. They've got Spire. That's a lot, right? And don't sleep on the importance of Spire, the left-handed reliever coming in because Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, the left-handed bats on the Tigers, the bats who are most likely to do any damage for them, right? You can bring in a Spire who can still get righties out after, but you can situationally use him in that. And then that's just on that side of the ball, right? Defensively, they're obviously really good, but look at their lineup, right? Randy Arozarena, Cal Raleigh, we know about Cal Raleigh. Julio Rodriguez, we know about Julio Rodriguez, right? They've got Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez, they traded for from Arizona at the deadline. They've still got Polanco. Their lineup goes right, switch, right, left, switch, right. You can't match up against them with a bullpen to slow them down that way. You've got Cal Raleigh hitting 60 home runs. Lest we forget, Randy Arozarena, old enemy, right? We remember him from the World Baseball Classic, Cuban national who was playing for Team Mexico, and how excellent he was in those pressure-packed situations. But do you remember how good he was in the playoffs as a perennial member, as a perennial participant when he was still with the Rays? I'll give you his playoff numbers here. In 33 games, so not a particularly small sample, 128 plate appearances. You're looking at that point at a quarter of a season, right? He's hit 336, 414, 690. That's an 1104 OPS. Yeah, the Mariners are good. I'm taking them to win this series. I think Tarek Skubal probably keeps the Tigers close in the game that he pitches. But if there's one series here that projects as maybe a sweep, this is probably it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and I know this comes across like really simplistic. That's kind of how like my mind works with it. Like Tom is the brains. He carries all the information, and I just kind of chime in here. I just don't like, we can go through like the Tigers roster and we can go through like the hitters, right? Like what you just did with the Mariners. The big difference here is I trust the Mariners hitters to hit when they need to. The Tigers have guys. We know this. We know Kerry Carpenter. I call him Barry. Don't know why, but I do. He is a guy who should be able to come up clutch for you when needed. Perez, obviously Torkelson, same thing. Torkelson started off super hot and faded down the stretch. Obviously, Riley Green. Riley Green, I'm concerned about just because as a lefty is not the best against right-handed hitting. I feel like he's a really good low ball hitter, and they're just going to be throwing high fastballs at him all series long. That concerns me. Dingler hit that the big home run yesterday. He's not really a guy, although I love baseball names like Dylan Dingler that just make you feel like you're 8 years old, like just laughing at PP joke. You know what I mean? Like you're like 8 years old.
The two catchers in the series are Dylan Dingler and Big Dumper,
which is hilarious. I didn't even make that connection. That's hilarious. So I like that. I like feeling like I'm 8 years old. Makes me feel like I don't have any bills to pay. It's wonderful. You know, like Baez is like a really good like utility guy, and he can hit for average, but he's not like giving you he can hit home runs, but he's not like that guy, right? So like they have guys. It's just I just don't trust them. They're too hot and cold. The Mariners just have that consistency, and you just said it with the pitching staff. Listen, man, just to confirm this, yes. So like you said, Kirby's starting tomorrow. Kirby's just a guy, man. Like he is a dude. And
that's confirmed that it's Kirby tomorrow? That's surprising. I'd seen Castillo, but either way, I mean, they have the point of all of that is that, yeah, they have a number of options and they're all good. That's well, you know who's not and would not under any circumstances be starting is Keeter Montero. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, let me just double check this because I'm seeing different projected starters. Kirby is listed for tomorrow as the starter. TBD for the Tigers. I'm seeing on Fangraphs Troy Melton is projected, but regardless, it's going to be a bullpen game most likely, which I think to start a series with a bullpen game, even though you do have the off day after game 2, that's a tough start.
Especially when you've just gone 3 games against a really difficult opponent. 3 games they ran through their bullpen. All 3 times.
Yeah.
So it's nothing is lining up for Detroit here. The Mariners, I expect the Mariners to take full advantage of what the bye week gave them in terms of roster flexibility and just being able to impose their will a little bit more aggressively on Detroit. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think if I'm going to make a case, and this is a better case than the Reds case, but maybe not by much. But what I will say is, assuming that they lose tomorrow, let's just say, okay, they could obviously win. This is baseball. It's freaking crazy. But if they what I don't like about the Tigers is they have to win Skubal starts. They have to. There's no like they have to. They need him to throw 7 minimum, and they have to win. That's just how it is when he pitches. If they lose tomorrow and they win Skubal start, Casey Mize will more than likely start game 3. If Brian Wu, who hasn't pitched in a while, right? Like he's been hurt for a while.
It hasn't been that long. But he threw the simulated game during their off week, whatever, yesterday, and we'll see how it is. All-star pitcher though.
Oh, obviously 100%. But if he ends up not starting, or if he comes out rusty, Casey Mize is fine, right? Like he can get the job done. He's not in like superstar by any means. So there is a world where if they win Scooble start and they can get what they need from Casey Mize, and the Seattle pitching situation doesn't work out like they want it to, there is a world where they can take advantage. If they get to game 4 down 2-1, whether they lose in game 4 or game 5, I don't see them closing that out. However, there is a world where they can go up 2-1. I am with you though. I do see Seattle winning this series. It just everything has to go right for the Tigers, and it did in this past series. So we'll see.
True.
We'll see if they can do it again. But I am with you though. I do see Seattle. There's just too many factors for the Mariners to be able to pull it off. All right, let's wrap up this DS preview with the New York Yankees versus the Toronto Blue Jays. I make no bones about it when I do the football show, and I'll make no bones about it now. I know a lot of people in the media don't want you to know if they're fans. Everyone says they're not fans of certain teams or whatever. I'm a fan. I'm a Blue Jays fan. I'm a Toronto sports fan. I have been my whole life. I still believe that I can come at this objectively. And what's hilarious is if I'm going to be biased at all, it's going to be to the negative because the Blue Jays just rip my throat out all the time. So if there's going to be any bias, it's probably going to be negative. But that being said, the Toronto Blue Jays, New York Yankees, the Yankees are minus 156 to win this series. Toronto plus 132. And if you want to make the Yankees favored, and this is like on FanDuel, if anyone's looking on a different book or whatever, and they're like drastically different odds, then please hit me up and let me know. But if you want to make the Yankees favored, I can understand that. And I could, okay, that makes sense. But minus 156 to plus 132, I think is insanely disrespectful to what the Blue Jays have been doing all season long. Gausman, Gill, Bieber, Fried, Scherzer, and Rodon are listed as the probable starters.
Probable. We can start. Maybe we'll start with so Louis Seal pitching for the Yankees tomorrow against Gausman. That's confirmed. So we know that's
confirmed.
Is the matchup. Yeah. Great. That's right. That's right. Heel's been fine since he came back from injury. He's been good. Gausman has been, by most measures, somewhere in the 3rd to 5th best starting pitcher in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. If you haven't been paying attention until recently, that might sound a little bit surprising just because he didn't have the greatest numbers in his last couple of starts of the regular season. Although I'd implore you, now that we know that we won Game 162 against the Rays, and I will continue to say we, and I know that it's dorky, but I can't help it. That was just some Rays stuff and some weird baseball stuff. He didn't pitch poorly against the Rays. He wasn't throwing for strikes as consistently as he had been. But other than that, I mean, it's just seeing eye ground balls, a swinging bunt, basically, just weird stuff. He's still pitching very well, and there's nobody you'd rather, as a Blue Jays fan, have on the mound in Game 1. I'll be interested to see what they do with that number 2 spot. Do you play Trey Savage in Game 2, where he will have the support of the home fans? I mean, remember, he's only pitched a few times in the major leagues, right? And the first time was in that joke of high A stadium in Tampa, the Yankees high A affiliate stadium. He pitched then in Kauffman and then in Toronto at Rogers Center. Do you pitch him in Game 2? Do you pitch him in Game 2 where he has the support of the home fans, or do you leave Savage out of that and pitch him in Game 3? The problem there is, right, Game 3 could conceivably be an elimination game. Do you want an elimination game started by a rookie on game 3? I mean, it's a good thing that the Jays don't have to make these decisions right now, because I think the situation can be fluid. If they win game 1, maybe they change. We'll see what happens, right? And there's the off day between game 2 and game 3. The Yankees just went with Cam Schlittler yesterday, and so he won't be available until late in the series. Wouldn't have to see him more than once. Max Fried has not been near as good against the Jays this year as he was in general. Great start for him in game 1 against Boston, cut short by his manager. Yeah, I mean, pitching kind of a saw-off, right? Bieber, the Yankees' strengths entail mainly hitting the ball out of the ballpark, do line up with the Jays' pitching weaknesses, which consist largely of keeping the ball in the ballpark. But the Jays went 8-5 against the Yankees this year during the regular season, despite the fact that those were clear and present strengths and weaknesses all year long. And the Jays' strengths, hitting for contact, keeping the ball in play, sustaining rallies, high on base percentage, do play well against the Yankees' weaknesses, catching the ball, keeping runners off the base paths. They do have a relatively high walk rate in their starting rotation. Season ERA is a little bit too small of a sample size, right? I know I brought it up talking about Max Fried. I'm just saying there's not really this isn't a case like we talked about with Detroit, or like was the case with Boston against New York, where there's one overpowering dominant ace that you just kind of pencil a W in next to that start for that player, right? It's just not the case in this series. There's a bunch of solid, capable, above average pitchers. I love the intrigue, the drama of Trey Savage getting the start. I don't think at all that we will see Max Scherzer, perhaps not even on the roster. Will we see him out of the bullpen? I don't know. But the Yankees, he's got such a crazy over-the-top delivery and different stuff. You can see that it would just be kind of a new, fresh look, a different look. And, does it hurt that he's a right-handed pitcher and Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, their biggest power threats are both right-handed hitters? Yeah, I don't know, but it's really intriguing. It'd be really fun. I'm not going to make a pick for this series, Mark. I'm going to be a coward. But I do. I am going to enjoy. I'm going to enjoy watching it until I don't, or maybe I'll just enjoy it the entire time. We'll find out. Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah, dude. I mean, listen. So I'm just gonna we've been talking for a while. By the time it's all said and done, it'll be 90 minutes. So I'm gonna get to the point here soon. Speaking of which, thank you to everybody watching on Total Apex and on the Solder on Sports Twitter account. Really, really appreciate it. If you're listening before the games on Saturday, appreciate that as well. It means the world. We're building something here from the ground up. And I got my friends alongside of me to help, and it's awesome. So thank you to everybody for hanging out with us for as long as you do. That's the most encouraging part, dude, is like, especially like this is our second show doing this, but for the hockey show, the few times we've done it, and for the football show, the amount of people who watch is always exciting, and it's over 2 Twitter accounts. So sometimes the one will look down, but the other one is up, and sometimes the one is up and the other's down. It's not even the fact that, 30 to 50, 60, 70, sometimes even more people watching. It's not even that. It's that they stay for the whole thing. That's the thing that's more surprising to me is, you
even after your interpretive dance.
Yeah, dude. Like they still, to watch for 5-10 minutes is cool, but to watch for the whole show is quite remarkable. That you put up with me for that long. Like, my wife acts like it's hard for her to deal with the kids when I'm down here for 2 hours, but she secretly is glad that you guys have to put up with me and that she can do her own thing. But anyway, to my point, and might seem like I'm getting a little bit off the rails here, but just trust the process. All right. I hate Ross Atkins so much. He drives me insane. The way he treats all of us like we're stupid is just so infuriating. It's a Toronto sports thing, man. It's a bit different now with the Leafs, with like Tree Living taking over, and with Brendan Shanahan gone, and with Keith Pelly stepping in, and we're talked to a bit more like we're humans and we actually know what the product that we're watching. Where the Toronto Blue Jays management, they just love to talk to us like we're stupid, or with how Ross Atkins is just talking in lawyer code all the time. He thinks we're brilliant.
Russ Atkins has all the charisma of an ATM receipt.
Dude, it drives me insane the way like he phrases, like he has like a 10-minute phrase that means like internal improvement. And he
doesn't bother saying the thing. He goes straight to the fine print that nobody wants to hear.
It drives me insane.
He is
all right?
like a walking terms and conditions statement. It's
yeah. Now, with that out there, and if you aren't a Blue Jays fan and you haven't followed along with what has been the Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro experience, then I apologize that you're a little bit lost right now. The fact is that AA, as in Alex Anthopoulos, not as an Alcoholics Anonymous, built a World Series contending team, and they proceeded to just strip the whole thing down, and that's a whole other thing. This has been a very hard product to watch for almost a decade. Even when they made it to the wild card rounds, it was a very hard product to watch. Even like the COVID season was really the one season where it was like a really good, fun.
Ironically, the 2021, the year that they missed the playoffs on the last day of the regular season, that might
was so much fun.
That was the best team probably of this era, and it was by far the most fun. It was crazy. They very nearly snuck in at the end, and it was just what a run. Yeah.
And what made that fun is that before the season started, if you told me they were going to go to the playoffs, I would believe you with some hesitation, but it wouldn't have shocked me that you predicted that. And if you told me that they were going to miss, I'd say, yeah, that makes sense too. And so for them to be right in it till the very end, that was a blast.
After playing in 3 separate home ballparks.
Right.
It was crazy.
In
Just
Buffalo,
so much they were dealing with.
In Florida and all that, 100%.
Crazy.
The last 3 seasons have been, especially the last 2 seasons, not including this one. I'm talking the 2 seasons previous, especially last season, were some of the most painful seasons that I can remember. And that says something because we missed the playoffs for like almost 20 years, actually more than 20 years. And the reason being is the front office shoved this hope of a contender down our throats when we knew what we were watching on TV. This team is not making it to the playoffs. They're just not. Last year was so boring and so hard. And the reason is when management tell you what to expect, then when they go on a run and it's fun, then it's like, whoa, I expected this team to be awful. Like the management expected them to be awful, but here we are. But when management sells you this hope that we all know with our eyes is BS, it's incredibly frustrating. And this season is one of those seasons, though, where the front office fed us hope and we did not believe any of it. I really like that they signed Vlad before the season started because I felt like we need something to hold on to because this is going to be a tire fire. The Blue Jays have been one of the best stories of the season. And it sometimes goes unnoticed because they are like Toronto, right? And
first place since July 3rd. First place since July 3rd.
Yeah. And what's been encouraging about that, Tom, is that there were moments where they let that lead slip away. right? And then they bounced back, and then it slipped away again, and then they bounced back. That lead at one point over the Yankees was up to like 8 games, and they let it slip away, and they bounced back. So much so that the last game of the season determined whether or not they win the division. And my point is, any honest Blue Jays fan would have expected them to lose the division in that last weekend. If you're being honest with yourself, you okay. This was a fun ride.
They were up 5 with 11 to go, and they were tied with 4 games left. So
yeah,
the writing's on the wall there, right? I mean, and even to take Jays fandom out of it, why did we both pick the Guardians to beat the Tigers in the wild card round?
Momentum.
Exactly the same situation, right?
Yeah.
And yet Alejandro Kirk, who had been god awful for weeks, a couple of weeks, ice cold, terrible slump until game 161. He hits a home run late in the game, clutch. And then game 2 obviously follows that up with, I don't know, what was that, a grand slam, and then a double, and then another 2-run home run. The team is just fantastic.
And what's been fun is, and not even just fun, but listen, man, George Springer, World Series MVP, was brought here with this certain swagger and pedigree and experience. Something that
they went ahead and almost wasted all of that, but he came back this year.
Because quite frankly, Tom, like the last 2 years, again, and I know he's battled injury or whatever, he's been awful.
He's battling being your age, right? That's the
so
situation with him, right? Yeah,
so am I.
But, I mean, you sign these long contracts with free agents like him, not like Vlad, who's only 25, right? But when he signed, but you sign these long contracts with these free agents like Springer. It wasn't supposed to be last year and this year that were the good ones. It should have been. It was supposed to be the first couple of years, right? In the first year he was a little bit hurt. The second year they were just terrible.
He has
tripped all
completely
against Seattle.
Yeah, well, he's completely bounced back, reclaimed like the leadoff role that he's had for years, and he lost
third best OPS in all of baseball.
Just terrific. Then obviously Guerrero, which if you ask Jays fan, even the media, people are saying they need him to be this, to be that, to be this. He's had a great year. And you know what? He hit 1 million home runs, whatever it was, 4 years ago. And it's okay if he is not, when the team is playing like they have been, it's okay. Maybe he's not the 35 every single year kind of guy. If he is, we want that. But listen, man, he's like right around 300. He's been very good for the most part. Defensively, every once in a while his head falls off, but he's a very solid.
Those are errors of commission, though, not errors of omissions. Those aren't lazy errors like you saw from the Red Sox last night. Those are situations where Vladdy gets a little too aggressive.
You're 100% right.
You'd rather no errors, obviously. Let's not be insane. But you'd much rather an error like the kind that Vladdy makes than what we saw out of Lowe last night, for example, right? Where you don't want to get caught in between you don't want to get caught on an in-between hop because you didn't make a decision fast enough. I'd much rather Vladdy make what turns out to be an ill-advised throw home or something like that to try to save a run. That's
100%.
You get the payoff that way.
100%. Kirk has been, I mean, listen, man, the big dumper as far as catchers go has taken all the headlines. Kirk has had an incredible season, and what makes this special for Blue Jays fans is we traded our number one catching prospect a few years ago, and everyone is like, what? Kirk has one good year, and you trade this dynamo? Like, what are we doing? And Kirk hasn't been that great since, and this year they signed him to another deal, and he's just playing terrific. You go down Dalton Varsho, who they traded.
We traded Moreno for. Yeah, that was the catching prospect.
Exactly. And as you know, Varsho is a perennial Gold Gloving defenseman. He was not good with the bat for
No, he
since the
simplified his
beginning.
approach. I think they've given up on him as being a top of the order guy.
But
He
he's
can
been,
only do
but
one thing. Hey, it's fine.
he's been clutch though,
Hit him
right?
seventh. Yeah, he's had his moments.
So,
You put him in the right spot, right? John Schneider's done a really good job, I think, this year. They've had enough parts, right? Enough pieces that they can slide in around things. You can't say enough about how good and important Ernie Clement is. You can't say enough about how good and important Addison Barger is because they can play multiple positions, right?
100.
And then that means that you can put the guys. You can put Varsho, you can hit Varsho low down in the order where there's less pressure on him, where he can just hunt fastballs and try to hit a home run, right? Because that's really, he brings one skill to the table offensively, and it's power.
100%.
I don't want to see him hitting second in the playoffs. I don't think any of us do.
So let me get to my point here. So you have these guys that are names, and they're doing what they are supposed to do. Now, Bichette, he's hurt. They're kind of playing coy with what that's going to be. Personally, if he's in this series, it's amazing. I'm not holding my breath. It's right. They're doing the hockey thing of like it's day to day, and it ends up being like a month. So we'll see what happens. It's already been like a while, but guys. And this goes all the way back to like the beginning of all this, talking about Ross Atkins. If you're going to look me in the eye and make me believe that this was the plan all along, Lucas, Barger, Clement, I know Jimenez, terrific defensively, whatever. For these to be your guys, for Heineman, I love Davis Schneider, but like, let's be realistic here, right? Like La Perfido, Straw. Like, if you're telling me that all of these guys on our roster, you knew that these guys were all capable of bringing your team not only to the playoffs, but to win a division, you're a liar. You're a liar. If you actually thought that this roster was going to do what this roster has done, and that's no disrespect to these guys, they've been doing it all year long, and it's tremendous. Can they do it again? I don't know. I'm just loving the ride. I'm enjoying the ride. This Blue Jays team, and what has me encouraged, and which is why I think they can beat the Yankees, is because they have been doing this all year long. And like the Yankees, they were supposed to be doing this. As much as the Blue Jays won the division and they have home field, they're not supposed to be here. And to me, it's this anti-Detroit Tigers, where the Tigers, they should be the one playing with the home field right now. They should be the one who had the week off, and they're not. Where the Blue Jays, they have no right to be here in this position. And all those guys that I mentioned, the guys who were supposed to be playing well have been playing well, but it's all these quote unquote nobodies who have been playing lights out all season long. They have the best average in baseball, Tom. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, yes, star power, it all goes to the Yankees. And really, this was a whole 10-minute rant that I could talk about how I hate Ross Atkins, and this has nothing to do with him. These players just have been overperforming all year long, as far as the players that aren't like the main guys. I love this, man. And if you have Bichette, that's just house money. What concerns me the most, and this is where I want your thoughts and opinion, the starting pitching, I'm actually not that concerned about. I think we've seen flashes enough from everybody. Like Scherzer, even. I know he's not the Scherzer of old, but he's had moments this year where he's been dominant, right? Mm. Can he channel that for a couple of starts in October? I don't know.
They don't need.
I don't know. Yeah. But what concerns me more than that this bullpen can dominate and then explode on
Yeah.
any given moment. And I
What
know
we've
that's
got
what
is
bullpens
what
do.
we've got is a bullpen, and if you were to talk to a Yankees fan who would watch as many Yankees fans as you have Jays games, watch as many Yankees games as you had Jays games, and was just looking across the aisle at our bullpen, right?
Yeah.
They'd have the same kind of feeling as you do. I mean, Devin Williams was supposed to be their answer at closer, came over from the Brewers actually last year in the Nestor Cortez trade. Fantastic year he had with fantastic 2-year run he had with the Brewers. Seemed like a really shrewd move for both teams. And Devin Williams has been about as reliable as Jeff Hoffman has been for Toronto. Moments where it looks great, right? Most of those moments for Hoffman were early in the season when the team wasn't going well, ironically. Devin Williams has interspersed a couple of bursts of quality play throughout the season, but nobody's trusting him. Luke Weaver gives up home runs by the fistful. They traded to revamp their bullpen entirely at the deadline, and out of that they got. I mean, Bednar closed all 3 games. Bednar pitched in all 3 games. He could only close 2, right? They only won 2. He pitched in all 3 games against the Red Sox. So with only 1 day off between series, I wouldn't be expecting to see Bednar tomorrow. Regardless of circumstance. I mean, you can't be up 3 days and then only have 1 day off in 2025 for sure, right? This isn't Goose Gossage. So their bullpen is a big weakness for them as well, right? Again, the Jays bullpen, by the numbers, and you can't look at season-long numbers for bullpens for any team. You can't look at the Jays, you can't look at the Yankees, you can't look at even teams with good bullpens, quote unquote, just because the composition of that group is so different by the beginning of the year. I mean, did you know who Justin Brule was in April? But he's
Right.
he's on the postseason roster, and a bunch of these guys are from other organizations. Louis Barland, who's already feels like he's been through three of his 9 lives as a Blue Jay.
Yeah.
You worry a little bit about Sir Anthony Dominguez because he's so strong against right-handed hitters, but it's so difficult for him to keep left-handed hitters off the base paths in the yard. I don't know. It'll be interesting because there are certainly like clear weaknesses both ways. Coming into the playoffs, coming into it a week ago, the Jays bullpen was looking sharper at that time than the Yankees bullpen had in September. It had also stabilized to an extent, but not to the level that the Jays had been as such a strength recently. Difference being, you can't predict that one day to the next, and now the Jays bullpen has had a week off. Who knows, right? I don't know. Yeah. What were they doing? Is this the Doc Ellis situation? I have no idea what they were doing when they went back to San Diego. I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be stressful. I'm glad that tomorrow's game will be running concurrently with some volleyball at the university that I have to go produce. So I'll only be able to pay. Who are we kidding? I'll be paying very much attention to the Jays game.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. It's going to go one of the ways that it can go, right?
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about this is now the Sky Dome, I'm a very disgruntled former Rogers customer, so I'll just call it Sky Dome for now until they hire me for something, and then I love Rogers, the best company I've ever been a part of. The Sky Dome, I mean, with the weather the way it's been here in Toronto, I assume the dome's going to be open. I don't know.
It's a league decision. So, whatever they do, they have to keep it that way for the whole. I think they were leaving it. They were leaving the question for optimism. The last reporting I saw, that's a couple hours ago before we came on. But everything that you've seen before, I don't know what the forecast is for the rest of the week, right? If there's a game 5, what they'd like to have is there to be consistent. That's what they typically do. So usually, and that's not a just Toronto thing, but like when there's a dome, they'll always want it to be closed, just so that it's always the same all
In
three
that
games,
case,
all three potential games.
it'll probably be closed then. But that even serves better to my point.
Just get louder.
That stadium, and I know that I'm a Toronto fan and it's easy for me to say, but trust me when I say that stadium, playoff baseball, even
Louder.
September baseball when the games matter with that dome closed, there is nothing like it. Like it is insane. When that dome is closed, it feels so small. Everyone's on top of each other, just going nuts. And it's going to be an environment like no other. I can't wait. I do love the classic feel of an open air stadium. That's the like old school guy in me. However, if that dome's closed, man, I'm telling you, like I know Yankee Stadium can get ruckus. We saw it last night, but I know you know it, man. Like that dome with the dome closed, it's going to be a vibe. And you know what? I'm taking Toronto plus 130. I'm taking it. I think if this does go the distance and the distance ends at home, uh, I love that it's home field. I would think differently if they didn't have home field. They also, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head or maybe you have it there in front of you. I know that they had an extremely good home record.
Yeah, I believe it was 58 and 27. No, that can't be. That math doesn't work. They won, I believe. They had the best home record of any team in the majors. And I believe it was exactly a 666 winning percentage. Yeah. 54 and 27. So they won 2 games for every game that they lost, right? Yeah, it was yeah.
I don't know how that
we don't need to talk about their road record. It's close enough to 500. So
I don't know what that compares to everybody else.
It's significantly better. It's 4 games better than the Yankees were at home.
Yeah, I love that this is at home. I think that really matters. I feel like baseball can be kind of finicky like that sometimes, but in this situation, I think it really matters. All right, man. Give me your favorite bet as far as series wins go. What series are you the most confident in? Yeah, just hit me. What do you think?
Most confident in the Mariners. In the Mariners rolling.
Yeah.
But in terms of, who was the best underdog bet? You took the Jays. I just don't want to gamble on the Jays. That's Jays are that's for me. That's not for. But I do like the Phillies being such underdogs is surprising to me, and feels wrong.
Yeah, I get it. I really do like the Jays. To say that it's my favorite, most confident bet would not be accurate, but I do like the Jays here, and I think that's great value. I don't think they should be favored. I don't think the Yankees should be favored that heavily. If you want to favor the Yankees, that's fine. For the Jays to be plus 132 is either very telling at what's about to happen, or it's very good value. So we'll see. For me, it's the Brewers. I mean, we already talked about it a bunch like an hour ago. I'm very confident that the Brewers, and I like the value. If you're asking me to pick either Milwaukee or Seattle, I'll go where the value is, and that's minus 116 for the Milwaukee Brewers. All right, everybody, as always, thank you so much for hanging out. Before we leave, one last time, let you know this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order, regular price and sales price item. As we said at the top of the show, ongoing sale up to 50% off. And with our promo code, you get 10% off of regular priced and sales price items. Can't beat that. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off regular price and sales priced items. Also, Total Apex Media, Total Apex Sports, all your sporting needs, whether it's betting, fantasy or you're just a fan and you want to know what's up, they have you covered. They have a health website. They got lifestyle. They have pop culture, gaming, TV shows, your horoscope, if that's something that you need to know the first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee. What do the gods have for me? That is
what sign are the Blue Jays?
That's a great question. I don't know.
We need to check their horoscope tomorrow.
Before you do any gambling.
Sports. Totally Apex Sports.
Before you do any gambling, make sure to check Total Apex for the Blue Jays horoscope. Yeah, man, amazing. As far as this podcast goes, football, the show that we did on Wednesday night, it'll be on Spotify in the morning. Check that out before Sunday's games. Last week, I did 2 betting previews, one for the Pacific Division, one for the Metro. They have been on YouTube and on Twitter. I've been sitting on them for Spotify, but they will be out this weekend. And next week we will get to the Atlantic and the Central Division. So stay tuned for that. And of course, this show, if you feel like you need to listen to it twice for whatever reason, it'll be out in the morning as well. So everybody, thank you so much as always for hanging out. Tom, thank you for hanging out, bro. I appreciate you very, very much. You have to see the series. Until then, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.